Hello everyone, I am William Bidver, I'm working for Hydera. I will present you today our model with hierarchical structure, and I will show you how we can easily manage some physical data models with JSON files, MongoDB or Google BigQuery. So our solution is for data architect, you will be able to create your models from different sources. You can reverse some databases, you can reverse some data warehouse, you can also reverse some JSON files. We will see this during the demonstration. And we can also manage some glossaries and terms. And we can relate these different objects together. So for instance, I can easily reverse my database or JSON file. I can connect to MongoDB, Google BigQuery directly. My data architect will automatically generate my physical data model from these data sources. From this physical data model, it will generate my logical data model, and I will automatically have some link between my table cust. For example, I will have a link with my entity customer. And moreover, as we can manage glossaries and terms, we can relate the terms to objects from our models. So for instance, I have here a term client, which is related to my table cust and to my entity customer. And we can easily navigate using the solution through these different nodes. When you are working, you can also create for your company an enterprise conceptual data model. From this conceptual data model, you will generate a logical model for your enterprise. And then, depending on your different project, you will be able to link your object from your enterprise model to your project directly. So, for instance, in my example, my concept company is linked to these different entities. And this entity client is linked to this entity client in this other project. Here I am on my enterprise level, and here I am on my project level. Moreover, we can also link with the term I just explained earlier. We can directly link this same terms to my different objects in my enterprise models or directly in my project. Obviously, we won't have only one project. We will have different projects. It can be, like I said, some database application. It can be a JSON message with JSON files that we can import. It can be directly from your data warehouse. We can import the different objects from this data warehouse. And we can do the same with NoSQL database and have all these different links to navigate easily between our different projects and see how it has been implemented in our different projects from our enterprise view. Regarding the products, we will have a SIG client for the data architect, data modelers. They will use it to create their physical data model, logical, conceptual data model. They can easily reverse from the different sources. They can also generate forward engineer their DDL or JSON file. We can compare and merge between different models in the same project, or I can compare with another project in my repository. I can compare with my database. If I am on my physical data model, I will be able to compare and merge with my database or with my file. We can manage the different the change management with task and change request. We have a link with Jira if you are using it, for example. And we can create some visual data lineage to explain how the data is transformed from one object, from one table, for example, to another to other tables and so on. And we can document it using Data Architect. If you are not working alone, you can use a repository. It will allow you to manage your different version. It will also allow you to directly share your model, and you can work together on the same project and merge the differences between the different users. You will have the blue link I showed earlier in this slide. All the blue link will be managed. This is what we call universal mapping through our repository and the different objects which are shared into it. And so this part is for the repository is on the server. It is not on the client like Data Architect. And on the server too, you will have Team Server, which is a web server. So everyone using a web browser can connect to the Team Server and can directly see the different models, the different information metadata that we have in the solution. And we can also directly discuss about any object. We can follow the different objects from the solution to be notified when something happens and so on. And we have a link between our solution, Team Server, for example, with Colibra, which allow you to manage your business glossaries and terms, and you can easily synchronize the two solutions using an integration, the integration we have done between these two solutions. That's it for the slide, and now I will show you the product. So I have my Data Architect installed on my laptop. Here I have a chart which show you my architecture for how I work. So I have my Data Architect which is running right now, okay. And I also have a virtual machine with which use in my virtual machine I have an MS SQL database, and it is my repository and my team server are using this database to store their metadata and allow us to connect through Data Architect. I can connect to my repository and team server to have my glossaries and terms and so on. So I will show you with Data Architect how we can connect to different database. We can import some DDL. We can directly import some JSON files in the solution. So regarding the hierarchical structure in our models, here I have an example with a model with a logical view. It is a library. It will allow you to manage some book. The book, we will have the library. We will have some checkout from Patron, and the publisher for the book. It's a very simple model. And you can see here I am on my logical model. Is written here too. And we can see, for example, with MongoDB, the same view as we have for the logical model. I have here my different object. I can see my book with the UID and the ID for the different tables are directly visible from here. I have I will show you how to go from how to reverse engineer your database later. For instance, I have MongoDB running in the VM I show you. So I will be able to show you this different object. I will show, for example, my book with chapters, which include section and so on. I will show you how to reverse it later. So from here, I have my book, I have the chapter I just show you in my MongoDB, my section. So you don't see any hierarchical structure. What we can see here, if I double click this link, I can see it is a relationship, but for a containment. This is not a relationship with a foreign key using this directly here. So what I can show you differently is the same view, but using this time the hierarchical structure. And so you can see here that I have my different columns in my table, and we have some object like the checkout, the chapter for my book are included in my book as an array, and I have the section included in my chapter, and so I have directly this object. If I double click on it, I can see the JSON file, and we can see the structure of my data. Okay. So this is for MongoDB. We can do the same with a JSON file. We can generate a JSON file from our model, logical model, to directly within the solution. So from here, I can generate my database, which will be a JSON file, and I have different options. I can generate, for example, a JSON instance. I show you the script. We will have all this with empty values like this. or we can generate a schema, a JSON schema for this model to have all the different data types and so on. So here we can see library name will be a string 300 and so on. So we can see the schema that we can generate directly with the solution. We can also connect to Google BigQuery for to reverse engineer to generate the database, and so we can do exactly the same. We can connect to a data set, generate the different objects, and here you can see my model for another platform. So you have the different physical platform that we talk about for this webinar. So now I will show you how to create from scratch to get your data, your existing data. You can create from scratch, of course, a new project. From this project, I can create my entity directly, and I can put my different attributes. And then from my relationship, I can create usual relationship like we have in our database, or we can also create some containment relationship directly between our object. Right now, I will show you how to import from a JSON file. I have, for instance, a book.json. My book.json is just a JSON file with an array with lots of data. I have the title. I can navigate easily to my different data. From here, I can reformat if I want to show you properly. I have my title, author, and so on, the chapter, the section, like we see in the previous project. So I have this JSON file. I can select the platform. For instance, it is a JSON file. This is not MongoDB. I can specify how my repeated element will be handled. Do I want to generate one object per object which repeats, or do I want to create to combine all of them and reuse them? So I will reuse.
Hey, William.
Yes.
Hey, got a question. I hate to interrupt you, but Kathy asked, and I didn't know this myself. Does the JSON have reference values?
Yes, I think so. I do remember it has some reference value that when you have some reference in your JSON file at the top and you reuse this value. This is
if you want to open that up and you can show her something. It's a good question. I thought I'd just interrupt you. Sorry.
No problem. And here I have an option to roll up, so to show the hierarchical structure directly in my model. So I will click OK, and you can see that he has processed 4 different objects in my book.json. If I go back to my physical model, I can see the structure of my file, which is exactly what we have here. So I see this, and he has automatically generated my logical model, and we can see that I have my section, my chapter, which are included in my book, and the checkout is also included in my book. Okay. For the reference, I don't remember where it is exactly, but I think we can use some reference value, and then it can generate some stuff.
It doesn't appear that the reverse engineer of the JSON file creates the data dictionary reference values, but that's a
probably. Yeah.
That's a good point. I'll go ahead and send that along to product management and see if we can get that included sometime.
Yeah, good idea. So I have imported quite easily my JSON file, and I have generated my logical model from it. I can show you exactly the same, but this time I will use my reverse engineer wizard. So you can, in this wizard, we can specify to which database we want to connect. I have my MongoDB here. If I show you my ODBC, I will have different data source. And for example, I have my Simba ODBC driver to connect with ODBC to my Google BigQuery. So I can select this one. I will show you MongoDB, for instance. Regarding MongoDB, we support lots of different authentication types. You see the list here. I will put my credential to connect to my database. I will say OK. And when I click next, I connect to my MongoDB. So this is the instance I show you right here. Then I will select my library DB. I can select the different object, user collection, system collection I want to get. I will just select this to get my publisher, book patron, library. If I show you back from here, you can see book, library, patron, publisher, which is my object we have here. I click next. Here I can select different options. If I have some procedure triggers, I can automatically reverse the object involved by this object to be able to validate the procedure triggers. I have some option to select the layout I want to generate, and the option I show you with the JSON import, which is for the repeated element. I want to combine them in one object. I will show you and explain when it will be done. We can generate a relational or a dimensional model. It will change the look and feel of your model, and you will have more properties regarding the dimensional type. I can show you this later. We can use some naming standard template to automatically change, for example, the case of your different fields. You want, for example, to have your fields in uppercase. You want to have your attributes in your logical model in camel case. You can specify this using a naming standard template. If you are using your own data types, you can import them in your data types, in your different data types. You can edit it from the UI in data type mapping editor if you need to. And this is the object I will use. And we can save all of this configuration. So if you plan to reverse your database weekly, monthly, and so on, you can easily save your settings. Instead of selecting each object each time, you can relaunch from the first page, or you can automate using some macros, for example. You can automate directly the reverse of your database, and so have a new fresh diagram every time you need it. When I click finish, it connects to my database, and it has automatically generated my physical data model. We'll zoom in. So you can see here my book, which is using which has a publisher and also a patron and a library directly integrated. And I can see my chapter section directly visible from here. Check out too. If I navigate to my logical model, from here we can see our different objects. So I will see from here address. So address is, if I double click this relation, I can see it is a containment. It is containing, and this is a parent of my address, which will contain me. So publisher will contain address. And this one, for example, is a real relationship. This is not a containment. This is a relationship between my publisher and my book. So we manage, we can handle both relation directly between these different objects. So it has generated for me this physical model. So what I can do from here, I can edit my different objects. And for example, my book, I can define that if I have an author and a title, it will be my primary key for my book. I can define that publisher has a name. It will be the name of my publisher. It will be my primary key. So I can easily update my model because I know how it works. I know the logical part of the data. So I can easily update my model using the different feature of the tool. So here I have specified my different field. You can see that automatically, for example, for my book, my author and title are been automatically copied to my to my nested object. So I can edit also my chapter. Chapter will be defined by its number. So it will be part of the primary key. And for the section, it will be also my section number, which will be part of my primary key. And so we have defined our model like this. And if I need, I can easily, from this model, create a new physical model for a new platform. So I can create it for any platform. For example, if I want, I can create it for Snowflake, and I will move or Google BigQuery or any platform that we want. I can create a dimensional model. So I will show you the difference between both of them. I can validate my model when I generate it with some specific rules. I will show them when it will pop up. I can define which object I want to generate, how I want to generate them. I have the different options for the generation itself. The naming standard template I explained during the reverse engineer, so we can apply some rules to directly generate our physical model. In the next, how I want to manage my different relationship, if I have a many-to-many, if I want to create a new table and so on, so my different options for the generation. The quick launch option, like I show for the reverse engineer, you can do the same for the generation. And when I click finish, it automatically generates my new physical model. And as I have asked for the validation wizard, I can specify some rules, like I said. Here I can show the different rules. I can, I want a definition with some fixed number of characters between two numbers. If there is no colon, no definition, and so on, and then I can run this validation to generate a report. So I have generated it from scratch. I haven't typed anything, so I have no definition, no note, and so on. So it says me that I need to work on this, and I can export this result. If I click close, I can show you the model, and you can see from here my different objects. And for example, I have my book here with the primary key here, title, author. I have somewhere my library also, and so on. So I have all my different tables directly generated, and from here I can generate my database, and I will generate some DDL to directly create my platform, or I can even connect to my platform to directly generate the object depending on the platform you have chosen. Here I have my different options, and if I look at my SQL preview, you can see my different table, which will be created with their primary key we have defined in our logical model before generating this physical one. So we can easily create our database. And if you want, for example, if I want to generate a data vault for my book, for my library, and so on, you can create some models for to present the information you have differently. So, for example, if I want just a subset, I can create a specific submodel for my subset. I can, in this example, I will create a submodel for my data vault. In my data vault, I want to create some hub, satellites, and so on for my book and, for example, for my library. I will select these two objects. So you can see that I have my two tables are included in this new submodel. I still have the other one. And from here, I can use, for example, some macros that I have written earlier, which can help me to generate this different objects. So, for example, I have my hub. My hub will be with my author and title. It will be my use desk keys to identify my book. So I will click close. I have created a hub automatically. You can see some specific attributes linked to my hub. I can do the same with my library, for example. My library will have a library number. I will click start. No, I will have chosen name. Never mind. For my book, I will create some satellite, so we can easily create the satellite. I can select, can specify the name for my satellite, and I can select the column which will be changed or not. So low rate of change, I will have if it's the chapter, the language, number of page, date, published date will not change. The publisher will not change either. So I will generate my satellite. I will say, for example, that I have a medium rate of change for the availability of my book, and I can even create another one for the checkout, who will change very oftenly. Yeah. And so when I click close, I can see my different satellites that has been created for my book with using my hub. I can do the same for my library. will just, I say for my library, I will click, sorry, satellite, yes. Okay. So for my satellite, it will be, no, I misclick. I should select my table, not my hub. This is why the data is not good, and I want to create a satellite, I said, sorry. So what will not change, the address will not change, and the name will not change a lot, so I will create like this. And what I can do finally, I can create a link between my different hubs. I can create my link. I select my two hubs. I click yes, and I can change the name of my link. Click start. And so if you want, for example, to implement this solution in your data warehouse, you will be able to generate the script for your Snowflake. It will generate automatically your DDL or generate the database in your Snowflake. What I can do for my Revolt to generate it with the macro, I have added my library and my book. Finally, in my data warehouse, in my Revolt, I will not use this object, so I remove them. I can easily change the layout for my different objects, and here we can see our two hubs, the link between the two hubs and the different satellites for each of them. And we also created, using the macro, the different domains. So instead of creating some fields here, which will be used in my different object tables, if I double click here, I can see in my columns, I have used a domain which is HK-HBook, which is this one. And so I have defined in this domain that it is always a car32 for my HK and the different values, properties. So this is for the domain which has been automatically created. And as we have generated it from my different object, I can also lay out this view. I can zoom in so you can see what I have done. From my book, so the table book that I will have, I can directly generate, I have my hub when it will be populated from the author and title. I will generate the H key for my book, and then I will populate the business key with these different values, and you can see how I will generate my different satellite, how they will be populated, and so you can easily manage. Starting from my MongoDB, I have navigate through my MongoDB and generated data vault in my Snowflake with this project. Simple as that. And so, like I said, we can work with the different platforms. Like if I go back to my book example, I have Google BigQuery. We support it. What I haven't shown regarding this model, if I double click, I have my columns, and when you have I selected when I generate my Snowflake, I have selected a dimensional model and not a relational one. So you have a new tab, another tab, an additional tab in your model, and you can select different table types depending on your object, and you can automatically change the icon and some values for this different object. Yeah, Snowflake type. If I resize my object, you can see the type I've chosen. Here it is not defined also. I can define a dimension, and it will be shrunken. Okay, and you can see the different values, properties, and you can change it from a diagram object display in a diagram. You will see here some specific option, dimensional layout display. Okay. That's it. So we support, like we see, the structural hierarchical structure for these different objects. And I can show you also when I edit this, you can see that when I edit a table, kind of table, this is not a table, this is a collection. So the user interface has changed. If I show you the other one, if we compare, here we have some fields and we generate some JSON. If I go back to my Snowflake model, if not to the same model, but to the objects, if I here I have my columns for the table and the DDL for my table. So depending on the platform, the tool will automatically adapt to the field, to the properties depending on the platform. Tim, any question you received? You want to some topic I haven't covered? You want to see? Or?
Just Kathy is very interested in the reference values, and I'm testing it on my VM right now.
Okay.
The idea there, Kathy. Yeah, what I'll test, and are you pretty much done? If not, if you are, I'll go ahead and try to email Kathy directly on it or include it in an answer. What I would do there, Kathy, if I understand your problem, if I understand the
yeah, I have it.
Yeah.
Valid attribute data using reference value.
Yeah, the question is if I have say I have a logical model, I have reference values, I have an attribute has a reference value. Maybe she's imported those using when I generate the JSON schema. Will the reference values be in the schema? And I was testing that while you were talking, but I didn't get.
I have one project here. Normally, I should have some reference values. Yes, I have country. Yeah, I have lots of reference values, but where did I use them? So you can see that you can use your data dictionary to create different kind of object. Reference values are one of them. So here I have some step code with my reference value will have the value and the description for each of them. And it will be used, for instance, if I scroll to my domains, I will have a domain which is using my reference value directly here. It's also using the default binding for my default. I have it is above here. I have some default value which is here for my not available. And so regarding this project, if I check if I'm using this not attachment for the domain. Here I have my state, which is used, no, I'm just checking that my data is okay.
Right.
And if I generate a physical model for JSON.
Exactly.
I have understood. JSON, okay, don't validate, JSON tables, blah, 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 okay, okay. So I have here my, you can see the model, JSON model I have generated. You can see this, how do you call it? Ghostbuster sign. This, you can see
Ghostbuster,
yeah. You can see this sign because we have relationship between our object, but JSON doesn't support relationship. So this is here for documentation, for documentation purpose. And from here I have, so it was my client. Yeah, client is using my state. And if I generate my database, single, yes, JSON instance. If I look my preview, I have nothing for this one, but we have to look for the JSON schema, and I don't know which one, nested and nested. Could be one option that I'm missing, schema properties. Yes, I have them.
You see it there? You see it there, Kathy?
I knew I saw it earlier. And here I have my definition.
So the steps there, I think, for your use case, Kathy, would be to maybe use the macro to import your reference values in. Then in your logical model, make sure, I don't know if you're using domains or if you're using just off your attributes, select that off the reference tab, reference values tab, which reference value you want to link to. And then when you generate the JSON physical model and then the schema, you'll have the reference values there. And I think that solves your use case, if I'm understanding it correctly. Hopefully you're still here, Kathy.
Yes. Yeah. For example, for my country, here I can change my reference value. I can set that it will be the country code numeric. This is the phone number. And no, this is an idea. Country code numeric. So now my country is numeric like this. And if I regenerate once again my database from here, so I'm just selecting this object. So you can see here, it is only selecting this object. I can do it from my some model, obviously. And if I expand, no, for the schema, I said, yeah, let's see if it was this one. Yes, I see it. You have a different reference available here. Tim, disappear.
Anybody else have any questions? You know, we got some time here, and you know, we do these webinars for you guys. If there aren't any other questions, I would like to say that anybody attending or maybe that reviews the recording later that's a registrar and couldn't make it, if you want to see something in person on this, perhaps you're getting into JSON and Google BigQuery or Mongo, and talk to your sales at sales at Ardira, and we could set up a demo, maybe get your particular use case looked at. So I just want to say that that avenue is available for you guys at any time. Just contact your sales exec at sales at Ardira.
And you have trial version directly available from our website.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.